since you're the brain and you're brainstorming a lot with this folks, I'm interested in listening to some of your ideas, but also what are their preoccupations these days and what's going on.
Yeah, so I think, no matter what, in a lot of my focus is on hospitality, as you know, but I think you can translate this to any sector, any brand, any industry in the world. We're living in a really interesting time. So the world is going like this. It's going up and up and up. And attention is going like this. So the world is getting faster. Attention is just going the opposite way. And the world is getting quicker and quicker and quicker to try and keep up with attention, right? Because attention is just so fleeting. So I think probably one of the main wants and desires of brands currently is that first of all, they want to capture that attention, because, ultimately, if you're going to bring any customer to your brand, first and foremost, attention is the first currency, right? Before they spend any kind of money with you, attention is that very first currency, because if you haven't got their attention, then they're not going to do anything else. So attention is that first thing. But then I think it's becoming even more of a challenge, because what we're also seeing as well is this bigger, better, faster, stronger. So somebody comes up with an activation, or whatever that concept is, and then we'll see another one similar, or a little bit bigger, or a little bit brighter, or a little bit bolder, or a little bit more wacky, or whatever it is. And then it's like, well, how does that actually tie back to a customer beyond that? Okay, we've got your attention, great. What's that connection between that burst of attention, and then how do we not just translate that to this human being becoming a customer, but how do we keep them there? What does the brand do beyond that attention burst, which everyone's trying to capture? There's a lot of work that needs to go on between there and here to keep that relationship, So it's not just about the bigger, better, brighter, faster, stronger, bigger than everything else. It's about, well, what are those processes then as brands to say, well, actually, what's the human? Like, what does the human feel about this? And for me, if the human isn't at the center of all decision making, then we're starting in the wrong place. Because if we're starting with product, we're thinking about product, which, ultimately as brands, that this is what we do. We think about our product. It's like, let's put our product, whether that's a service-based product or whether that's a product. We're thinking about how we put our product on consumers, guests, whatever sector it is, rather than how are we making that human feel? How does that human feel when they experience us? How do they feel when, okay, yes, they pick up let's take a product, for example. They pick up a product and they touch it. But then what happens when they interact with, if we take a physical retail store, what happens when they interact with the salesperson, the cashier, the person on the door? What happens when they go out of the store and they see an advertisement on a board, and then they go back home and they see the digital footprint online, and then they go back onto the street and there's someone else carrying a carrier bag from the same brand? And does the carrier bag feel consistent with everything else that the brand's doing? So there's just so many different parts of this process that I think that's a real challenge for brands, because I think maybe a lot of the time it ends at that kind of surface level rather than going, and then what, and then what, and then what. So I think we always need to be asking, and then what,